Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic,
And we need to focus on that. If not for yourself, then do it for your children.
Black book is in the
Black
Black
book.
men talk, black book. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that movement, our team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem. And you're watching Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community. And one of my co-hosts is in the house, Kofi Morris. What's going on?
Peace, peace, peace. How's everybody feeling? I'm good, Dr. Vibe, you know what I mean? I just fill the belly, you know what I'm saying? Put some nutrition into the stomach.
Fall asleep. Don't fall asleep.
I'm ready to
Don't fall
go,
asleep.
actually. What I ate
Don't
was very
fall asleep.
energetic. So when I eat, I don't really get tired. I get energized. I'm very strategic.
Okay. All right. I'm going to keep a watch on you. Keep a watch on you big time. So I like to do when we start off our Black Men Can Talk conversations is give us a win that you've had recently.
A win that I think I'd like to share is more specific to the creative realm of things, having just come off a little stint of self-reflection prior to getting down to the page and creating and writing. So I've just connected on a project that people are going to hear about as we move forward. I'm staying quiet about it right now, but we basically collaborated with a group of artists from the city to launch a project together. So I'm definitely feeling the win as it relates to that creative project. It is musical, so folks are going to hear about that. For those that don't know me from my past, relative to dub poetry, but also relative to being an MC, right? So as just one, so definitely look out for that. And that's essentially the win that I would share, is that collaboration that's about to drop in the city. And what's your win for this week, Dr. Vibe? What's your win?
Well, before we go any further, I want to ask you go a little bit deeper. Mm-hmm. How important, from your lens, is it for Black men to collaborate?
I think it's as important as the need for sustainability of the health of our community, right? Because we often do things in silos, unfortunately, relative to the current iteration of where things are socially for us. So when we come together, we can think of it as simple as something as sports. Great things, amazing things happen when we come together on a field, on a court, etc. This is how we have something called the NBA, National Basketball Association, is because of the collaboration of mostly brothers on a court, right? Shooting a basketball. So when you think of the need for us to come together, it's one of the things that are actually fought so much, because it's known that when we come together, we create great things. So when we come together, it's also bringing forth dynamic energies and forces together around not just the creativity of whatever it is that we're doing, but the greatness of the creator comes through, right? That whole piece around the Father, we talk about the Father in a lot of the iteration of Christianity, understanding that energy, that divine masculine energy that comes together can move mountains. So on a ground level, what it does is it shows a certain level of healthy foundation, especially when young people see us as men doing things together. You'll see a lot of young boys emulate the Black men in their environments, right? Whether it's negative or positive. They'll want to follow when they see men collectively doing something. They'll want to follow. They're like, I see myself there. So I want to be there. I want to do whatever they're doing. So the next generation literally is waiting for us to come together to be able to follow something positive.
Love that. Love that. Love that. It reminds me a number of years ago, a gentleman who, one of my earliest mentors when it comes to manhood, he said, Dr. Vibe, our young people replicate what they emulate.
Mhm.
So thank you for sharing those wise words. You asked me myself in regards to a win that I had. I have a lot of them, but one that happened just today. Uh, Almost every week I get together with a group of people, or we chat, whether it's digitally or face to face. And there's a lady who's part of our group, always vibrant and all that. And I noticed today she wasn't her usual vibe, for lack of a better terminology. And we had some small talk for a little bit. And then she said to me, you know what? I've got to tell you something, and you can't tell anybody else. I said, wow. And unfortunately, her house was broken into, and jewelry has been taken. She mentioned something like her bank accounts are gone, like her money's gone from her bank account, and it is pretty serious, pretty vicious. But I think her ID is still intact and all that. But just the fact, I'll just say, well, how do you consider that a win? Well, for myself, I'm just glad that I was a safe and brave place for her to share that, because obviously her and her husband are going through a lot of stress
Mhm.
right now. And for her to confide and share with me and say, hey, I got to tell you something, but don't tell anybody else, to have that presence and environment that people can trust me with some of their lows and challenges in life, for me, that's a huge win for myself.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm sure, Kofi, there are people in your journey, past, present, and I'm sure they're going to be in the future,
Mhm.
that count on you for guidance, mentorship, but also confidence.
100%.
What are your thoughts on that?
100%. No, I mean, as a coach, as a healer, as a mentor, a lot of, what we do is listen. And a lot of what you do, Dr. Vibe, in your position, right? We listen. And the ability to listen without critique, without um, judgment, the ability to hold, brave spaces and safe spaces, um, is something that is quite overlooked to a degree, um, in a lot of cases, especially for our people. Oftentimes, people speak about not being seen, and the other thing beyond sight, is being able to hear what somebody's saying, beyond the words that they're saying. Oftentimes, and this is for parents with their children. This is for children of parents who are aging. Sometimes it's the things that are being said, um, behind the words, the things that are being said in body language, is the things that are being said. People shut down, in certain circumstances, and you see it in their body language. So they're still communicating to you where they're at and what's happening. And now they're giving you cues on how to approach the rest of the conversation. So what you're saying is so integral to the health of our relationships, is the ability to hold space, the ability to listen, the ability to create that safe space, and again, to not judge, and to be able to hear somebody out fully, and in some cases, even not to take things personal. Sometimes people are going to have emotional responses and reactions because of what's happening in their own life, and they might communicate to you in a harsh way, or in a particular kind of way that could make you feel a way, but really that's not what's actually at the forefront of what's happening. what's truly happening is that they needed that space to share with you so that you can hold a space for them so that they could show up as they are. And then you'll see post that conversation sometimes what's really happening when they share. But if you shut them down because of language or because of the tone, I'm not saying allow someone to be disrespectful to you, but sometimes people are just going through stuff and they need us.
Sometimes.
They need a listening ear.
Sometimes, okay.
Yeah, it's huge. It's something that it's almost as though, you know, because we deal with communication on a day-to-day basis, all of us, how many of us have actually ever taken a course in communication, like actually, you know, looked at, you know, the need to understand what deep listening is or what it looks like, or the ability to hold space for people and stuff like that. In facilitation and community, we talk about this a lot, and we talk about helping people and giving people the tools of how to do that, even when you're going through your own stuff at times, to also be able to hold space for somebody else because you would need it for yourself, right? So getting to that space is important, and I think it's a journey unto itself. And I think even with, you know, our topic tonight, as we get further into it, you will find that this is probably something that shows up for our guest as well in the space that he works in, is being able to create a space for people to share what they're going through, and also be able to look beyond what's at the surface to dig a little deeper with regards to this topic tonight, you know.
Well, you know, it's really interesting because, and we'll go to break here. There's so much stuff. Kofi shared so much rich stuff there. I'll just pick one thing out of the cornucopia of things he shared there. The art of being able to not only listen to what's being said, but what's not being said. That's a whole, I'm going to leave it right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave it right there. That's a whole conversation in another place.
Yep.
So we're going to take a break for a few moments, and we'll come back. We'll do some housework, and then we've got a friend that some of you may not know of, but you better start knowing about in 30 seconds. Black Canada Talking, where Black Canadians give their takes, POVs, and insights on local, provincial, national, international conversations. Cesar Nadima Musa. What is up, Cesar?
Hi, Dr. Vibe. Thanks for having me. And it jeopardizes your ability to sustain yourself financially.
40 programs have been suspended due to the drop in revenue.
We see this happening over and over again throughout history.
What does that tell you about America? All right, we are back on Black Men Can Talk. So let's do some housework here. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. And if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on our show, please feel free to email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. We have a new friend here tonight, and we have known him for a while, but you need to know him. Ulysses Guerriere was born in Toronto and raised in Montreal. He was diagnosed with sickle cell S-beta thalassemia, and if I get that wrong, it's my head, not my heart. He'll correct me, of course. At the age of 2 years old, he started volunteering at the Canadian Sickle Cell Society at the age of 16, and eventually became a board member at 18 years old. He is very involved in the sickle cell community in Montreal and Toronto, and hopefully one day around the world. Formerly, he was the project coordinator at the sickle cell program at Taibu Community Center in Toronto. He is a sickle cell activist, also started a YouTube channel called Our Sickle Cell Life, where he captures moments of life and the struggle of living with sickle cell and the sickle cell disease, my correction there. Past board member of the SCDAC, currently president of the Sickle Cell Association Ontario, and co-founder of the Ujuma Sickle Cell Emergency Fund. His life is dedicated to support, empower, educate, and bring awareness to this cause one day, to bring sickle cell disease to the mainstream. Well, I think he's brought to the mainstream, but I can't define him. So let's get him up here to define himself. Ulysses, great to hear you. Great to see you. How you doing today?
I'm doing okay, relatively. Good to be here. Good to see you, Dr. Vibe, Kofi. Been a long time.
Well, I'm outstanding. It's always good to be in a good person's presence. So I'm looking forward to our conversation this evening. Kofi, do you want to kick it off, or would you like me to kick it off?
You know, I have some preemptive questions, but there's a quick thing I'll share, I guess, in terms of my journey, connecting to those who are experiencing symptoms and what have you. And we're to get into some of that, of course, on today's show. But I was just reflecting on one of the first people in my life that I came across that I was even aware of the symptoms, some of the symptoms that are faced. And this was in my early 20s. And I was like a sister of mine that we used to do a lot of work in a creative space. And at times she would tell me, you know, she's in a space, she's in crisis, etc. She was in the hospital yesterday and this type of thing. And I didn't know at that point. Again, the ignorance of not knowing meant that she became a source of information for me to start understanding the disease and how it works and how it shows up in our lives. And I just say that, you know, there's some serious warriors in our community that are working through the symptoms of sickle cell. And when you see them, you wouldn't even know, right? And I think it's one of those things that my question is always, why isn't there more understanding, awareness, dialogue, etc.? How is it that it's almost like I look at it almost as, you know, a silent war that's taking place in a sense. And that's a harsh way to put it, but it's like, I feel like it's a silent war in our community that's taking place from a health perspective. And we still don't know enough about it. So I guess my first question to you, you know, brother, is why do you think that that's the case? Like why, and is that still kind of what you come across often, a lack of information and awareness?
Yes. Well, we'll start by giving like a little background about what sickle cell is. So for people that they're not aware, they don't know what sickle cell is. It's a red blood cell disorder. So essentially, the normal red cell it's shaped like an oval. The sickle cell, that's the way the name comes from. It's shaped like a sickle. It's like a crescent. So what happened because the red cell is abnormal, is shaped like a crescent. When it goes to the vessel, a bunch of the red cell clamps together and blocks the blood flow. So there's no blood flow going in that region. There's no oxygen because the red blood cell carry oxygen. So if there's no oxygen going to that region, so that region over time could die. So essentially what happened, it creates pain. And that's the first symptom people with sickle cell encounter. It's pain. It's severe pain. It's pain that you cannot even comprehend because it's hard to explain to people what it feels like. But if somebody ever like broke a bone, or if you ever had a toothache, or you have an extraction of your tooth, that the type of pain that you feel like that. So put that like 100 times more. That's the amount of pain that you go through. For women that that had children, childbirth, they say sickle cell crisis pain is nothing compared to childbirth. So they would rather have childbirth pain 10 times over than having a sickle cell crisis pain. So that can give you an idea of the pain. But for people that, everybody has somebody, or they've been around people, or they've seen it on TV, like somebody that have cancer in terminal phase. For some reason, we have an idea of the amount of pain that they're in. Our pain is 10 times worse. So why is it that we don't have that empathy towards our care compared to cancer or any other disease? The number one reason and the number one issue, it's racism. It's simple as that. The reason for that is because sickle cell is prominent in the Black population across the globe. It's not a Black people disease. This is what they've been, the propaganda was, this is a Black people disease in the 70s and the 80s. But you will know that there's Caucasian that have sickle cell. So, and then there's different type of sickle cell disease. So there's different types. So it's not like sickle cell is not just like a one size fits all. illness, it affects people in different ways. So some people might have, you can have 10 people that have sickle cell, and they all live with sickle cell differently. They all would experience pain, but in different levels, different frequency. Some people will have like crisis a lot. Some people will have crisis like once a year. Some people once every 5 years. So it's different. So because of that, it makes it difficult to standardize the care because of that issue. But at the same time, it's because since this disease doesn't affect the mainstream population, quote unquote, there's not there's no funding towards towards the care for sickle cell disease. Um, there's no major awareness campaign that's been done on the disease over years. But even in our community, like Black people in general, they I would say like a lot of people don't know enough about sickle cell. Like although we do know about it, because like when you have conversation, you will hear somebody say, "Well, I know somebody, or I have a cousin, or I have an uncle, or my grandmother." Like it's always connected to some degree that they know about it, but they don't know the depth of how it impacts the individual. How does it impact the family, the people that surround the caregivers, etc. Right? So
Mhm.
those are the type of things that we need to bring more awareness, more lights towards.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, brother. Thank you. I'll throw it to Dr. Vibe.
Okay. There's so much, and we've haven't chatted for a few years, but I want to talk about, and you can speak from personal experience. What are the most common challenges people with sickle cell disease face in emergency departments?
That haven't changed a lot over the years, but the number one challenge is we've been stigmatized as drug seekers, and
Mm.
that's a challenge that we still face today. It gets better in certain like hospital that are, as an example, like major centers in Canada and the US, particularly all over the world. There will be like a hospital that is known to treat or to care for individuals living with sickle cell. So those hospital, you will have less chances of having those kind of issues. It does happen, but it's a bit rare compared to outside hospital. Let's say I'm going to give an example. If I go to a hospital in Toronto, down in the downtown core, let's say UHN, Princess Margaret, St. Michael's, like name whichever major hospital downtown. Most likely they'll know what sickle cell is, or they will have an individual living with sickle cell that went to the hospital to access care. So because of that, they are more familiar with it. So chances are that you'll get less of those issues. But a lot of it has to do with you know unconscious bias. We all have biases, but in the healthcare system, it should not be there, but it's there. We're all human. But at the end of the day, what we ask people is like, leave your biases out of the door. Like when you're coming to work, like, if an individual tell you like, this is what I'm going through, I have pain, I'm going through these challenges, etc. Believe the person and try to give the person the best care that you can. But a lot of the times we don't get that. And it doesn't matter like, who's treating you, whether the person is black, white, whatever, you still face those issues. So it's a stigma that carries around. I don't know how it's been perpetuated over the years because there's this mythos that people think that black people can endure pain better than Caucasian. Don't I can't tell you where it comes from, but that's a myth that people think. Um, whether male or female, if you black, you can endure pain better than Caucasian or any other race. So because of that mindset, when somebody goes to, like as an example, like a black person goes, you or myself, we go to emerge, we walk to, we're in a lot of pain, but we don't show pain the same way I guess other people show pain. We're not necessarily gonna cry, we're not necessarily gonna make a lot of, like a scene or etc. So because of that, the way the healthcare system, like their conditioning, they had this terminology that will say the way the patient presents. So if you present yourself in a specific way, the way that they describe pain, they think like when you say acute pain, that means you should be in so much pain that you have to express it. But the part that they tend to forget is like if I've been experiencing the amount of pain that I'm experiencing since childbirth to now, it's not gonna present the same way as somebody that just had, let's say, a fracture. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have a fracture, it hurts, it's painful, it's something that you never experienced before. Yes, you're gonna express it in a way where it's like you're screaming, you're gonna do whatever. But for us, we've been going through this thing over years and years and years and decades. So at one point, you learn how to manage it the best you can without having to express it. So only people that know you intimately, that they can tell whether you're feeling well or not, whether you're in pain or not. But if people that don't know you very well, the first time they're seeing you, like right now, you guys can't tell that whether I'm in pain or not. If I don't
Right.
tell you, you don't know, right?
That's
So
right.
that's what we need to change. It's like pain is not, it's subjective, but at the same time, it's like you have to believe what the person is telling you. I can't hear you, Dr. Vibe.
100%. We can't hear you, Dr. Bai.
So I just saying, as the conversation continues on right now, if anyone wants to call in and ask you this any questions, you can go to your any sort of digital device. So let me just get a little bit of the lower third here for a second. You go to callme.road.com, or you can, if you have a smartphone, swipe the QR code. It's going to take you to a site. When you get to the site, you need to put in your name. You need to put in the code, as you see right there, FSPL8L, and make sure you put the echo compression on. Pardon me. So this is a topic that if you want to get information on, there's no better person that we know of than Ulysses, because he has been overcoming this for almost all his life. And it's an important conversation. Kofi, you want to come back with more? I always have a lot of conversation pieces, but I will.
For sure. This piece that you just mentioned, I'm so glad that you voiced it, right? Because it was brought to my attention years back, and then it came back again with someone, in my life that was working through, a friend of mine that was working through a lot of intense pain, right? Back pain specifically. And this person shared with me their experience going into hospitals and the whole piece around how Black pain is treated versus the pain of other people. And and that's almost like I wanted you to put that on blast. I wanted you to say that 3 times loud, because people actually, I don't think people know that. I don't think the broader community understands that this is the way that the healthcare system looks at us, right? And this is why when you go in, you even have to know what language to use when you're admitted into a hospital to determine how they treat you, if they treat you or if they just send you home, right? Patch you up or whatever, take a couple tests, etc., and then send you home unless it looks a certain way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess the question that I have that relates to that is how you actually came to terms with that. Like how you even manage that reality to be like, instead of just questioning that's what it was, to actually accept that, in a sense, this is what's happening. So when I talk to my colleagues, my friends, my family, whoever, if they're ever in a crisis or in a situation that they have to deal with the healthcare system, I'm going to make sure that they know. How did you even come to terms with that? And what do you do with that now?
Well, which part specifically? Because there's different things. It's like over time, you like it's a learned experience. So because I was born with this, right? It's a genetic red blood cell disorder. So my parents have the gene and they transfer it to me. So when I was born in Toronto, and like I was born, I was sick. They didn't know what was wrong. So my parents been going to hospital time and time. So that was in the 70s. So they didn't know what sickle cell was in Toronto. This is considered to be like how do you call that? Compared to the islands, they consider the islands to be a third world country.
Third world country, yeah.
What Canada is supposed to be.
They're supposed to be quote unquote first world, no?
So I don't know what the terminology is, but basically they're supposed to be like there's a higher standard for them compared to the islands based on the technology, based on education, etc. Industrialization make United States, Canada, and Europe like known to be like quote unquote superior.
Yeah. A
But-
developed nation. Mhm.
There you go. Thank you. That was the term. So with that understanding, people tend like our parents left the islands to come here because for a better life, thinking that same ideology that United States and Canada and Europe, the standard of life is better. That's what we thought. So when I was born, so let me reel back a little bit. So my parents had 5 children. So 2 out of 5 passed away from sickle cell. So I'm the third child. So the firstborn is my sister, my older sister. She was born, she carries the gene of sickle cell disease. So she didn't develop any symptoms. So she was born like as a normal child. So the second child was another girl. So when she was born, she started having some symptoms of, she wasn't well. And she passed away at 6 months old. So when I was born, my parents saw signs of the same symptoms my older sister, the one that passed, showed. I was showing the same similar symptoms. So my mom was like, something is wrong with this baby. So going to a hospital, and they tell her all kind of like different diagnosis without the right one. So they'll say it's growing pains, it's colic, it's this, it's that, right? So my parents from Haiti, so they went on vacation in Haiti when I was 2 years old. So I got a crisis while I was there. And while I was on vacation, the doctor that was in Haiti diagnosed me from sickle cell. Because sickle cell affects a lot of people of African descent, we knew what sickle cell was because there's a highest prevalence of sickle cell in the islands and in Africa and different places in the world. So because of that, they saw the signs right away. Like if you have jaundice as an example, it's a sign. If you have something, it's like the swelling of the hands and the feet, like as a baby, like to see like they're starting to swell, something is not right. So those are symptoms that you could see it on a baby when you used to see babies having that those symptoms.
Mhm.
But here in Canada, in the 70s specifically, the immigrations just started, like having a movement of immigration of Black people coming to Canada. So they weren't family because they didn't see as much people having sickle cell symptoms to the hospitals. So they weren't aware of that. Long story short, the doctor that diagnosed me of sickle cell in Haiti, she moved to Montreal, and we moved back to Montreal at one point, and she became my doctor. So her name is Dr. Yvette Bonny, and she's a famous doctor in Canada, representing sickle cell. She's the first doctor that did the bone marrow transplant in Canada. So she's retired now. She's in her 80s, but she's doing well, and she's still the reference when it comes to sickle cell care in Canada. I was blessed because of that. Because of her, I was able to get appropriate care when I was a child. She was like my second mom. Like whenever I had an issue, my mom will call her. Obviously, she's Black too, so my mom will call her. We had a relationship.
Mhm.
So I don't know, those things doesn't happen anymore. But back in the day, we used to you used to have a doctor's phone number.
Phone number, you just call up and have a conversation about what's happening.
Exactly. But now it doesn't happen anymore. But back then that was the case. So one phone call, she will call the hospital, have the room ready, and I'll go in. When I turned 18, so at 17, a few months, I was sick. I was going to pediatrics, the pediatric style. I had a good treatment. So my birthday is in February. So I turned 18 in February. I had a crisis during my birthday month, and I ended up in hospital, adult care. It was a nightmare. Compared from pediatric, I had like red carpet treatment to people ignoring you. I was in hospital waiting for hours when I used to get rolled in right away. And this is the way you're supposed to treat somebody that has sickle cell. It's like as soon as they go in, they have to be cared for inside of 30 minutes because the first 30 minutes is very critical. That's when you can take a handle on the care so that the crisis doesn't get worse. Or if you don't do what you're supposed to do in the first 30 minutes, it could get worse, and the person can, instead of staying there for 3 days, they can end up being there for 3 months. Right? So those are type of things that they didn't really care about addressing, like, you know, somebody's pain right away. So there's like, as an example, you go in the adult care, and the doctor will tell, let's say I'll go in, I say, okay, I'm having pain everywhere, because the pain doesn't come like in just one spot, it's like everywhere. Everywhere you have blood circulating in your body, you can have a crisis. So right now I'm having a crisis in my jaw, like my teeth, like everywhere I have teeth, like I have pain going there. So everywhere there's blood circulating here, like I have, like somebody that has, like, you know, like if I have a toothache, imagine that toothache, but it goes everywhere, and then it radiates to your head. So any pain meds I'm taking, it only like, it's almost like a drop, like, you know, in a bucket. It doesn't do much, like, you know, it just like, I'll say like it calms it down, like, you know, from, let's say my pain is 10 out of 10, it went from 10 to 9, but it doesn't do much. So everything I'm taking is not really helping, and I'm taking heavy drugs right now. So, and it's not really helping. So if I imagine I go to the hospital right now, I'll be admitted. So now I'm gonna ask the doctor, okay, I need this type of medication. So the type of medication I'm taking it's narcotics, heavy narcotics. Like, you guys know, familiar with morphine or hydromorphone. So I'm taking something called fentanyl, and fentanyl is considered to be the poster child for the drug uh, epidemic in North America, I would say.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And when you say you take that medication, they kind of pause. They think, well, I'm not comfortable giving you that medication.
Knew that.
But did I decided to give myself this medication?
That's right.
I was given that medication by a doctor. So if I know the name of the medication, the dosage of the medication, I didn't come up with it. Somebody gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm asking you to give me that because that's what I need for my pain, and you turn around and say, I'm not comfortable giving you that. So who's working for who? Like,
That's
you, the
right.
doctor, you're supposed to be there to help me.
That's right.
And you tell me you're not comfortable, so I'm supposed to ease your comfort. And what can you give me? You're not comfortable giving me something else, but I cannot take a lot of stuff because over the years I end up being so like your tolerance level gets so high, like there's certain medication doesn't work for you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became allergic to some medication like they literally can kill me if you were to give me that drug. So I can only take specific amount of, like, specific type of drugs. I cannot take just anything. So the one that they commonly know, like, you know, like morphine, I cannot take morphine. So if that's what you want to give me, I can take it. So now I have to take this medication, but you're not comfortable giving it to me. So what am I supposed to do?
That's right.
Right. So over the years, I learned how to advocate for myself. I learned how to speak their language. I mean, I learned how to really fight, because like, so if I come into a conversation with this doctor, you're not comfortable giving me this medication. So can you find somebody that is comfortable to give me that medication?
Mm,
So I don't need to waste my time with you. If
that's
you
right.
cannot do what you're supposed to do, get me somebody else that can do it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait longer because this person cannot do what's supposed to be doing. So over the years, I end up having like an army of people that I can call. So
Mhm.
you don't want to do this job, you cannot do it. So I know your boss. So I can name drop a few people, and then they start to move a different way. I can call this doctor that's in charge of the head of department of this, whatever department that you're in. So I know pretty much like every doctor in the hospital that I go to, right? So because of that, it kind of give me a way to advocate and do things a different way. And also like I know the requirements of what I need, and I can say it in a way where the person like kind of realize that I'm not like a druggie off the street. Like it's not a drug abuse situation. I'm really there for something specific. Go read my file. Just take a moment, read my file. And some of the times it's like the doctor don't even have time. I won't even say like they don't want to do it. It's just like sometimes they don't have the time. So okay, you don't have the time to read the file. I'm telling you what you're supposed to do for me, and now you tell me you cannot do it or you're not comfortable doing it. So what do you want me to do? Like, what am I here for?
That's right.
Right. So it's almost like you have to do like a reverse psychology on them for them to actually take a moment and take care of you. Right. So and now think about it. Right. You're in a state where you're in pain. Like,
Exactly.
like you cannot even tolerate. You don't have the like you have a short fuse. Anybody that's been in pain for quite a amount of time, like you're sensitive, like you hypersensitive. You don't have time for nonsense. Like what I mean, you have a short fuse. So they'll say like black people in general, like we are difficult patients. It's not that
Mm,
we are difficult patients. It's just like we don't have the patience to deal with the nonsense, and that's why we have a short fuse. And like they'll say like if we speak loud, um, there's a word that they use all the time, like we are aggressive. It's not that we are aggressive. Like I'm passionate about what I'm saying, and I'm so that you bring me to a level where I'm like, I really cannot say what I really want to say, but I'm trying to be mindful of how to say it so that I can get what I need and have you out of the way. Right. So it's like it's a lot of things that you have to manage and and trying to use diplomacy the best of your ability so that you can get what with the care that you're supposed to receive.
hmm My goodness. Thank you, brother, for that. It draws another deeper understanding to the word patient.
That's exactly why they call us patients, because you have to have patience to deal with what you're dealing with. But one thing that I realized that even in the English language, they're actually telling you things that in plain sight, but we don't really pay attention to it.
That's right.
What is the medical term, or what is the language that they use to address what is a doctor doing? Like when a doctor is taking care of you, how do you call that in English?
Aid, care. Um,
What do you think, Dr. Vlad?
The first word that comes out of my alleged mind is care. The doctor's taking care of you.
So for the doctor to take care of you, there's a word that they use to kind of like put all of this together. So when a doctor is taking care of you, when you're seeing a doctor, is actually doing something, and that's something as a specific word for it. And when you start thinking about it, you realize the way that medicine was created wasn't necessarily, when you think about it, it makes you really question medicine in general. Doesn't come to you guys? I'll give you the answer. When a doctor is taking care of you, for lack of better words, they say practice.
Yes. Yes.
A doctor is a practitioner, right? So essentially, the doctor is practicing on his patient to find out how to do what he's supposed to do, right? In French, they'll say like a general, like a doctor in general medicine. It's called an omni practitioner. In English, they'll say it's a general practitioner, right? So when you think about those words, what that makes you feel as a patient.
That they're trying a thing. That with my body, my whole self that's coming into this space, you're just trying out something to see if it might work, and you're just practicing on me to see if it might work, it might not, but we're just trying.
We practice.
That's it's something that it's triggering, and I think
But you
going
see,
back to what you
when you
shared.
think about it, right? It's practice. They're practicing, right? They're practicing on me, but this is my life. If you mess up, I'm gone,
That's right.
right? And then they use those terms like patient-centered care. So the care should be centered from the patient perspective, right? Have you ever experienced what patient-centered care like actually look like? I know the intent, but the way it's actually been given, it's totally different the way the intent is supposed to be.
That's what Dr. Yvette was providing to you when you could have a conversation, and that sounded like patient-centered care. That, and as you said, that's hard to find now.
Yeah.
Dr. Vibe.
I'm gonna a few quick things. Ulysses, if you're open to it, I believe I'm suggesting we need to do a part 2 of this, because there is a whole myriad of conversation pieces that need to be addressed when it comes to this subject. So definitely I'd like to have a part 2 of this sooner rather than later, because I have a few more conversation pieces. Even if I asked one right now, it would take a lot. It would probably push past the time that you're available. And I remember our first conversation online, and when you said, when you came on in the green room, I knew you weren't 100% by the way you addressed me. I knew you weren't 100%. So for Kofi maybe hearing it for the first time, I already had that feeling. He isn't at 100% because you said you could be better. And I harken back to our first conversation about some of the things. I go, yep, got it. Nah, he isn't 100%. So I do that, but I just want to get some comments up here. Culture Life says, good evening, gentlemen. Frequency Event Promotions in the house says greetings. It also says salute, Ulysses. All right. This is what I'm going to suggest. I want to suggest maybe you talk about a little bit about the Sickle Cell Association of Ontario, and also talk about the petition. So let's go with the association first.
Well, briefly, the Sickle Cell Association of Ontario was founded by co-founded by Miss Lily Johnson. She passed away actually last month, and she was 103 years old. And she was my mentor. And the thing about Miss Johnson is that she's somebody that don't have sickle cell, don't carry the gene, but she was a nurse and she was the first director of public health in Ontario. And she saw a need, and she saw that specifically Black people was being mistreated. Black men, Black women living with sickle cell disease was being mistreated in the hospital. And that's how the Sickle Cell Association was created. And through that need is to be able to support individual living with sickle cell disease with their family, the caregivers, um, the allies, anybody that want to support individual living with sickle cell disease. So we provide counseling, support groups where people can talk about the disease. We also advocate for the community. And right now, part of our advocacy, we have a bill in the Senate. It's called Bill S201. And this is a bill that is to create a framework on behalf of sickle cell disease where that would actually give us the tools, give us the funding so that sickle cell could be um, bring forward to the mainstream, where if we have funding, we have money coming from the government, then the hospital will get some funding. So at that particular time, there'll be specific areas in the hospital dedicated for sickle cell disease. So eventually the care would be better. There'll be money going towards research, and also there'll be money going towards the curative treatment that they have right now. Some of the treatment that they have that are accessible in the States and in Europe, they're not accessible in Canada. Although Health Canada have approved some of those treatments, but because of the cost, it's so expensive. So as an example, to do gene editing therapy, it costs $3 million US. So how many people can afford that? So this is a public health situation where in Canada the numbers is close to 10,000 individuals living with sickle cell that accessing care. So the numbers beyond that, we don't have it. But with this bill, when it passes and it becomes law, we'll be able to have a registry so we can capture the data of individuals living with sickle cell, where they are in Canada, where they're accessing services. And also one thing that's very important is to be able to provide education for future nurses and doctors so that we can have the next generation be taken care of. Because right now, the care of people with sickle cell is very limited in terms of specialists going to that study, because hematology, oncology pays more than hematology for individuals living with sickle cell. So if you have to choose between hematology, straight hematology, and hematology oncology, most people will go to hematology oncology because there's money in cancer. There's no money in sickle cell. So right now, the numbers of doctors that is specialized in sickle cell are very low. So those doctors, when they retire, who's going to take care of the next generation if we don't put some kind of succession plan in place for the future generation so that they can still go and study in that field? So this bill is very important. I'm going to share the link with Dr. Vibe, and they'll be able to. Oh, thank you. They put that on the chat. You guys can go.
Yeah, it's
sign
in
this petition is very important.
Yeah.
The minimum requirement is 500 signature. Right now we are 400, and that's the minimum. So the more signature that we have, the better it is. That it shows that it's important. It shows the government, the establishment, that sickle cell is important to the population, so that they should take care of. They should pay attention to it. So
yeah, and it's the link is on the screen there, and also it's in the comment sections on most of the platforms you're watching this live or on replay. Frequency Event Promotion says hi, Dr. Vibe and Kofi. Also, Legend Norman Richmond says, checking in. Good to have you here as always. Brother Kofi. We can't, you're on mute, Brother Kofi.
There we go. Sorry. I was looking at some of the stats. I'm wondering how accurate, based upon, more recent reports are. It says that incidence of newborns with sickle cell disease they vary. It's about 1 in 5, 650 in Ontario. Let me go back.
So what we know, based on the latest report that was done that goes back to 2012, there's one child out of 2,500 born in Canada that is born with sickle cell disease. So that exclude, we're talking about 2012. So right now, with the immigration, with what's going on in the world, and also interracial marriages, the number is bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part too, it's like we're talking about people that have sickle cell disease, but what about the people that have the gene, that carries the gene?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't even know they carry the gene. So the way to find out is to do a blood test called electrophoresis. And you can go to your doctor and ask to do the sickle cell test. You can call it that way, sickle cell test or electrophoresis. And that can give you what your status is, whether you carry the gene of sickle cell disease or not. And like I was saying before, there's different types of sickle cell disease. Most people might be familiar with thalassemia. Thalassemia is another type of sickle cell that affects a lot of people from Italy, Greece, places in the Middle East, Asia, like the Chinese, the Indians, etc. So there's people from different backgrounds that have different type of sickle cell. So the most common one is called sickle cell SS. The sickle cell SS, the sickle cell S beta thalassemia, that's the type that I have. The sickle cell SC, and the people that have the trait, we call AS. So you have the A, it's a normal gene, and the S is a sickle cell gene. So the people that carries the gene, they call themselves AS. But there's more. So what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, it's like if you carry the gene of any type of sickle cell or thalassemia, and you have a partner that have another type of sickle cell or thalassemia, you guys come together. There's one out of, it's 25% chance out of every pregnancy that you can have a child that has sickle cell disease. So that's in the Black population. So it will be like, 1 out of 50 individual carry the gene.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if you look at that number, it's the number of the population that have sickle cell in Canada. It's way more than we can anticipate. And mind you, there's people that have sickle cell that don't have any symptoms. So if you don't have any symptoms, you never went to the doctor to find out whether or not you carry the gene or you have the disease. I had somebody that moved to Canada from Africa, and he was in Canada for like over 10 years, and he got injured and he went to the hospital for an injury. And that's how he discovered that he had sickle cell. So he's been living his life. He was in his mid 40s, and he never had any symptoms until he had an injury, and he ended up in the hospital. And because of that, he discovered that he had sickle cell. So now he had to learn about the disease. He had to learn about the precaution, everything that he had to go through. And being in an environment like Canada, the weather changes and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to end up having more crises than he never had any crisis in his life. But moving to Canada, he will. So now, you have to educate yourself. You have to know, what you need to do and what you cannot do, etc. So it's a learning curve that was shocking for somebody that's you live like pretty much like a long life, and then that's towards the end of your life you're finding that information that's it can change you know, your entire life.
So true, and that's one of the things I've heard with regards to not just sickle cell, but some other diseases that are affected oftentimes by weather. That it's sometimes it's more ideal to be in warmer climates, or to be able to be like a snowbird in those kind of scenarios, to actually be able to go to a space that, whether it's the States, whether it's Caribbean, Africa, etc., to be able to manage the symptoms. Is that kind of what you've come across as well? That's kind of
But
reoccurring.
for us, the issue is like individual living with sickle cell disease, we are like below the poverty level, so we cannot even afford to be a snowbird.
Travel.
Right, so it makes it difficult. So
Back to the
I'm
racism.
talking about this is luxury. You're thinking about like being like a snowbird. You cannot even maintain like a full-time employment. So think about like the majority of individual living with sickle cell cannot maintain a full-time job. So how do you go through life to adulthood, managing your life, going through so much heartache? You know what I mean? So you have physical pain, but then you have mental pain, you have societal pain, because like you want to be productive, you want to be an instrumental member of society, but you have limitation that you cannot do.
Yes.
But this society that we live in doesn't even give you the tools that you need to be able to live. We're not even considered to be a disability.
Wow.
So if you're
Really?
not considered as a disability, can you imagine all the barriers that we go through?
That's,
that's why the bill is important.
100%. So this is Bill S-201, you said?
Yeah.
How do we support that bill? That's the first part of my question. The second part is, what role do you feel, since this is Black Men Can Talk, what role do you feel Black men can specifically play in supporting the awareness and advocacy for sickle cell?
Well, first thing is like what we can do as an individual. What can you do? Number one, if you're healthy, donate blood. Blood is important for us. Like, I have to get blood, like I have to receive blood on a monthly basis. And for me to go to one treatment, on average, I get 9 to 12 units of blood. So one person donate 1 unit. If I receive 12, so I need 12 people to give me a treatment. Each month, 12 people have to donate blood for me to receive 1 treatment. But in the Black population, we don't donate blood like, with the same rate as the other ethnicities. So the level of the blood pool that's in the blood bank, it's mostly Caucasians. So then when I receive blood from people that's different background than I am, I get complication to the blood transfusion because the matching process is not the same. So I get antibodies. My body create antibodies to fight the blood that I'm receiving. And I need the blood to survive. So this complication could be avoided if I was to receive blood from people from the same ethnicity that I am. So that's the very important thing. Number one thing that you can do, donate blood. Number two, talk about it. Talk about it to people around you, to your circle. Share the information. There's an African proverb, each one teach three. So you should be able to do that. The other things, like, I know, like, people don't, like, nowadays things are difficult, and with inflation and things are being so expensive, your dollar, you keep it so tight, but we need money, right? So we would like people to donate, but I understand that not everybody can donate, but you can volunteer. So there's many things that we can do. The first thing is like, put it towards yourself. What can I do? Right? So the first thing, whatever it is that you could do, You can volunteer. You can do that. Donate blood. It doesn't hurt. Like the prick. It's like a. Have you ever been bitten by a bee? That's as much as it hurts for you to get like the when they poke you for you to give the blood. That's as painful as it is. It's like a bee bite. It's not that bad. You know what I mean? So, and some people can donate 2 units, but on average, like one person give 1 unit. But there's people that are healthy that can donate 2. So it depends on, like, I don't know the medical behind that particular aspect, but for blood donation, you can do that, and one person can donate blood up to every 3 months. So if you're healthy, you can, like, for male, they can donate blood every 3 months. For females, it goes every 6 months. So because of, like, female reproduction, having their menstrual cycle, some people cannot donate blood as often. So, but on average, let's say men can donate blood every 3 months, and women can donate blood on average every 6 months. Some could do more, but on average, I'll be that. So donate blood, because think about it that way. Should you wait for something bad to happen to you or to somebody that you care about for you to do something? Or can you prevent? Can you think about it ahead? So if the majority of the Black population were to donate blood, as an example, when something bad happened, the blood will be there. They
That's
wouldn't
right.
have to do every 2 months. There's a call from the blood bank that they need blood from the Black community, because we are the lowest when it comes to, like, the donation rate. So, and then you have people like, we have a lot of trauma in our community, and there's a lot of us that need blood for reasons beyond, like, illness, like shootings and things of that nature. People need blood. Like, when there's a surgery going on, people need blood. There's a lot of need for blood beyond just, like, a critical illness. So that's the one thing somebody can do, anybody can do. Like, blood, it's in you to give.
100%. Thank you for sharing that. But I think this is definitely something that the show itself can support. As Dr. Vibe said, I definitely am looking forward to having a part 2 to this. I think between now and then, being that this is Sickle Cell Awareness Month, the opportunity is here for us to raise awareness by doing things like this show, but also getting brothers, as you said, and our community to go out and donate blood. If it's a concern in terms of the pain factor or whatever, what the case may be. I know Ulysses said that it's like a bee sting. I think it's a little bit less. It's a little bit less. People are afraid of bee sting, right? But a little bit less than a bee sting. But I think just the reality of, looking at, like you said, imagine this was a loved one. This is a family member. This is your friend. This is your daughter, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. Would your concern be a prick over, the potential of supporting a life, right? So to be able to move beyond some of these things that we hold on to as a community that prevent us from being able to help and support one another is important. So that's something I definitely want to say and advocate and acknowledge the importance of getting out there and donating. If you haven't had the experience, the first time, of course, with anything is getting over that uncomfortability or what have you. And I've donated blood myself before. So getting over that to getting over to the other side, I think, is the first step, the first opportunity and experience. And then moving from that point, I think it becomes less challenging in terms of just your mind grasping the concept, first of all. And I think what you said is so key. Talking about it more also can help us to get over this lack of information, understanding, and awareness. And I know that we're going to put, of course, Ulysses' his information there to reach out and connect. So that will be another point of reference and connection and bringing him back onto the show. But I definitely want to ask this whole piece that you said, in terms of things that we can do. They're very concrete, they're very practical, and these are steps that we can take tomorrow. So I'm advocating for that and supporting that. I'll throw it back to Dr. Vibe.
Well, Ulysses, I want to say thank you so much for taking the most important thing that you have, your time, to share with us today. And I would like you back sooner rather than later. So certainly between Kofi, Sadat, and myself, we're going to work it out sooner rather than later, because as I said, there's a whole bunch of things that I'd like to get input or, in regards to health system partners, wait times, patient, and the whole, how it's handled even from childbirth these days. All those things I think is important for as an education for the people who are watching this, what employers need to know. All these things I feel are very important to be shared. But we'll leave it at this now. And again, if people want to find out more information about the Sickle Cell Association of Ontario, there's their website. Here's the link for the petition. As we let you go, as always, I say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace, and we'll certainly speak with you soon. And we hope that you're feeling better soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Keep the
Thank you,
faith
Kofi.
and take
Thank you,
care.
Dr. Bob.
Thank you, brother.
See you
Thank
guys
you.
soon.
Peace and blessing.
All right. Kofi Morris, do you have a health take for us before we exit stage left?
Yes, listen to your body. There's something that we practice in the mindfulness space in regards to body scanning. And it's a way in order to listen to what's actually happening in your body. So your body's provides that diagnostics, just like your car, your vehicle would. And I always ask people, if the gas light in your car went on, what would you do? Right? If the oil light went on in your car, what would you do? You'd most likely address that issue right away. You go and make sure you put gas in the car. If it was an oil related situation, you go check your oil, see when's the last time I made an oil change. Well, when your body's talking to you and telling you certain things, and that could be as simple as a pain, something that feels harmful in a sense in the body, recognizing that your body is more important than that car, than that cell phone, than that whatever. So actually taking the steps to determine, what is that? Let me go check that out, right? So actually listening into your body and what it's saying to you. There's times throughout the year that we need to do something called a detox. We need to do a cleanse. We need to do, I advocate for this because, see, back home, the way we grew up, every couple months, granny or whoever will come to you and give you some syrup. See if you're from, let's say from Jamaica, for example, or some kind of washout tea or something like that, right? People don't like it, but it's something we grew up doing. If you grew up in the Caribbean and even here in Canada, if you had those supports. So recognizing the importance of listening to your body, but also as our brother just said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So to be able to prevent some of the illnesses in our body is taking proactive steps. So on another show, I will discuss and speak about the importance of things like colonics and things of that nature, which is a deeper form of cleanse. But being able to do this ties right back into knowing when your body is telling you that this is what's needed and necessary. So increased gas in the body, right? Flatulence, again, belching, these kind of things are telling you that oftentimes, if it's not, again, specifically digestive related, something you just ate over a period of time, if you see these patterns, then you know your body's telling you it's time to clear things out. It's time to cleanse. So really taking time to listen to, what is my body saying? What are the steps that I can take to address it? And actually taking proactive steps to look into whether it's connecting with a healthcare practitioner, ensuring you're up on your yearly physicals, etc., or connecting with your primary healthcare providers. They call them alternative medicine in some cases now, but I'm telling people that's actually primary medicine. So connecting with your homeopath, your naturopaths, people that can support you and help you to be able to deal with the day-to-day maintenance and consistency in your body. Listen to your body.
Your health is your wealth.
100%. 100%.
Basically that's what it gets down to.
100%.
If you're not taking care of your health now, you're going to be paying for it, not only financially, but in many ways down the road.
100%.
And especially as a whole, we as Black men do not live as long as our sisters and men of other races and people in general. We're on, unfortunately, the low end of the totem pole on this stuff. And if we want it to change, we're the people that got to do it.
100%.
Simple as that. We have to make that change, and we also have to get. And I know many of our sisters will say to us, "Go to the doctor. Go to the doctor." Stop being selfish. Right? It's
That's
bigger
right.
than you.
That's right.
It's bigger than you. And what I'm doing right here, before we leave, Elyssie is in on the back channel, has shared me a link where you can donate to the Sickle Cell Association of Ontario. So I'd like to put that up.
Shame.
And then as we start signing off, I'll make sure it is available in all the comment sections where everyone's watching this live or on the replay. So I'm just going to do that now.
So I'll be posting this to my socials. I'll be posting this on my WhatsApp. I'm asking folks, share this with 3 to 5 people in your circle. When you see this, you're seeing the replay of the show, you're seeing this live, just take the link, share it with 3 to 5 people one time. WhatsApp it, SMS it, post it to your social, right? This can help not only a family member, a friend, someone in our community that looks just like you, that's going through some of these symptoms that you would pass by every day not even knowing. This is a proactive way that you can actually support and help.
Okay. So the link has been shared in the comment sections on many of the platforms where you're watching this live or on the replay. So as we close it out for this week's conversation, remember to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky and Substack. Again, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm part of, email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to get a hold of Kofi Sadat, his contact information is there, and it's also in the comment sections on many of the places that you are watching this live on replay. Mr. Morris, it's getwellstayfit@gmail.com, Instagram at Kofi Coach _ and also the Cosmic Wellness Group. And also you can catch him on Facebook at Kofi Coach. For myself, I make it really easy. One simple link, toplink.cc/the Dr. Vibe Show. Everything's there. If you want to email me, or you can get a hold of me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the different platforms that I'm active on are all there in one shot. And as always, you can watch replays of Black Men Can Talk on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com, and Paul Osborne on Facebook. So this is how we close it out all the time. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. As always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history, but try to do both and always make it better. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good.
Time that our parents, they're like, I have nothing to teach you. I don't know nothing. And they know
my dad's at that point now. It says,
That's my point.
But I'm saying, no, Dad, you got lots more to give. You know how cold it is when these two brothers in their yard.
You know that. You know that. You don't know that, bro. You know
No
that.
joke.
I know we all have these things, but you know what? My go-to is this thing.
Wow.
Black book. It's in the black.
Black
Black
book.
Men Talk, Black Book.